know you're here on the replay, then go ahead and let me know about that as well. So, um, yeah, I got a hit to do an energy update. I did my energy forecast for October a couple of weeks ago. If you haven't already listened to that, I recommend that you do. It's really potent. It's basically about my own money journey and the journey that I see with clients all the time and what we can really do after a long window of observation that I made. My parents met volunteering in a soup kitchen. I was on the street from the time I was in the womb, marching for justice, social equality. I have a degree in American studies. I've studied the history of this going back thousands of years, and I really care, right? My mission, my purpose, everything that I've ever done, um, you know, however imperfectly, has been to raise the frequency on this planet, to make it so that this world is as beautiful as I have always known it could be, just like so many of you. And so that's really what this energy update is about. There are a couple of things that I am always shown after a retrograde ends. So we went through this window of time, and if you're catching this live or even on the replay and you know all the planets that were in retrograde and you want to pop them in here, please do so. I know that during the window of time during which Mercury was in retrograde, that we had, I don't know, like 5 more planets on top of that also in retrograde at one time. And astrologers will tell you this, my guides always tell me this, which is in the guidance that I get often mirrors what people who are astrologers will talk about in terms of the ebbs and flows and just the way that things turn out over time. One of the things that that always comes up after a retrograde is during a retrograde itself, it's maybe, especially with something like Mercury, maybe not the best time to start a new venture, but it is a really powerful time to close open circles, to really complete things that you had not previously had the ability to dial in on. And really it's a great time to basically clean up things that are outstanding, you're ready to complete with. And that can be really clear physical stuff. It can be, things in 3D that you have been working out. It can also be emotional stuff. So patterns, it's a really powerful time to pattern break during those windows of a retrograde and just like meet things in the eye that no longer move within for you, and really using the energy of the idea of a completion to put things to rest that no longer serve you. And when you do that, right, I talk about this all the time, but when you do that, it creates a lot of room for you. The more we clear our energetic baggage, the more room we make for ourselves in a metaphoric and a literal sense to be able to really anchor into something new. And that is why my work is so potent and so powerful for people. Is I do this really multi-dimensional, multidisciplinary process through which I see who you are in your completeness. I see what is blocking you from this in all lifetimes, and how then I'm shown how to clear it. And the more you show up and you do that work for yourself, the more room you create to anchor into money, magic, and miracles. And that is my greatest gift. And it's so amazing to see the impact that has made on people. Sorry about that. And we're all being called right now to really amplify our own voice, our own needs, our own wants, our own desires, the things that will really light us up. It's really time. What my guides said about, and this kicked off about a week and a half ago. But those retrogrades we had moved out of Mercury's retrograde, and that opened up, I want to say it was about a week and a half ago on like a Thursday. That weekend I could see it in my own life, I could see it in my clients, I could see it in friends of mine, colleagues, that there is a way where we were then, many of us were met with an up-leveled version of a karmic thread that has been something that, we often, right? If you're a people pleaser, then you may make some awesome jumps, really heal in so many ways. You become less available for certain kinds of, parts of the pattern. And then I often say that I know that I have made a lot of growth when a thread, in this case, we'll say people pleasing, doing things that doesn't necessarily feel good for me at my own expense, with that is also called being codependent, right? Codependence has been a big struggle for me, and I know that those patterns don't serve me, they don't serve other people, they don't, and they create patterns of enabling, and they make it so that in my case, I am not, holding people to a really high standard, and really allowing them to take full responsibility for themselves. So that's a way that my stuff shows up. And I always know that I'm doing a better job when a more champagne version, if you will, of that pattern arises. I feel really excited, actually, because I always know that that means that I've made a massive shift. Something that like would have looked way messier, way hot messier a couple of months ago or a few years ago. Really just like I see things with crystal clarity. I have an ability to understand that that I have grown because things are showing up easier for me, right? The point of being perfect is not to somehow magically have no problems. That's not what being a human is like. We're here to be challenged. So that is, so that I share all that about myself because you likely, if you are someone who has been showing up and doing the work, there's a very high probability that you have been experiencing in the past week and a half some really up-leveled, right? We'll just go back to that, the idea of like a champagne problem version of something that has potentially vexed you for perhaps your whole life. And so I want to literally take a minute and just like truly applaud you if you are seeing those up-leveled versions of patterns. I commend you enormously because that means that you are showing up and doing the work. And that has a massive ripple through space and time, backwards and forwards. I always talk about how time is not a line, it's a circle. And that changes everything. It changes your own potential. It changes the potential of your genetic line. It changes what's potential for the whole planet, because you are basically creating a blueprint at that point for a new way of living. And other people can choose to rise to meet you in that place, or just move on to something that better suits where they are. And that's no judgment about where any of us are, but that's a big part of my guides are calling this phenomenon, which has been, very much the case always, but it's really amped up from an energetic perspective. So right. So I really want to just reiterate how exciting it is if you are seeing some up-leveled versions of some familiar patterns. Good job. I love you so much. Keep going. And if there's something that I can do to help you through that process, right? That's one of my ways that I am an ultimate wizard, is that I am really into pattern recognition. People tell me what an issue is, and I can see like ways that has impacted them in past lifetimes, ways that it has impacted them now. And when you start to really change those things, when you start to connect all the dots and be like, oh, it allows you to really rise into a total victimless experience. Now, listen, I know that there's a lot going on in the world. There are some really deep injustices that have played out on this planet, and we need to really fix them. And the way that I'm shown over and over and over again that we will do that is by really going inward. I care so much about social justice, and I really believe that at this point, that the thing that all of us that will really change things after decades of study and observation, and like I said at the beginning of this, really like being out in the social justice movement from the time I was in the womb. I've really studied this all for a very long time. And the thing that I see that makes a really big difference is for spiritually minded people of strong heart and strong mind to really start to anchor into making money so that you can then change things from the inside out. I have a huge vision for myself, for this work that I do through We Are Here to Remember, for the way that I am here to contribute to a global awakening. And money is a really important part of me being able to do that. I want to steward land. I want new earth retreat centers around the world. I want to have a massive impact. Someone really beautifully described my work. I had a cold reading with someone who is really a very gifted intuitive astrologer a couple of years ago. It was just one of those like wicked lucky things that happens often for me, which is that someone read for me on, what was that? Clubhouse, read for me on Clubhouse. And he was like, you are going to create Food Network for the soul. And I want to do that. I care so much about, really storytelling, entertainment, telling jokes, having a real lightness to what is really intense work, right? Like, I know the stuff that I do is really big. It changes people enormously. It requires you to really look yourself in the eye. I often have to tell people things that are not hyper comfortable, but those are those moments where when you can really receive, okay, here's what is blocking you, it makes it so that you're able to really shift things for yourself. So I really, whatever it is that you're doing in the world, again, if I can help you support that, I am here for it. I have all kinds of different ways that I can do that for you. And no matter what you do, whether you choose to have me support you, wherever you are in your process, I just want to really leave you with this, which is to just keep showing up. Keep showing up, even when and especially when it feels excruciating. I know that things are not easy right now. I know that. I know that it's a really intense time to have chosen to be here, but you did choose to be here. And so did I, and we all did. And you found me and this space for a reason. So keep showing up, doing the work. And my guides are calling this window of time that we're in right now. They love to be very dramatic in their language. And they're calling this window of time that we're in, that we're moving through for the next like 6 months or so, an evolutionary imperative. And what they mean by that is that there is a way where we're all being really called to lighten our load, to go deeply inward, to figure out what it is that we have been enabling in ourselves and in other people that we just that we've grown out of. And being really comfortable, being very visible, being whoever you are, right? That's another massive gift that I give to the people that I work with is I'm so different than anyone that I've ever met. I'm hyper spiritual. I'm really nerdy. I was a cheerleader briefly in middle school. I call myself a cheerleader. Like, I have all these, I love hair and makeup. I've always, always, always loved beauty, right? That was not, especially when I went to college in the late 90s, that was an unpopular opinion to be like there for beauty. And I have been there for beauty since day one. Beauty is a portal to the divine. It is a big part of what I also do for people, is unlock that inner glow, right? Beauty is in so many ways also, like everything, an inside job. I could tell you what my skincare routine is. I care about my skin enormously. I'm 43. I'm going to be 44 in April. And my whole life, I've always looked very young. And I could tell you the products that I use and the things that I do, but at the end of the day, the thing that really changes it for me, and I know this is my practice, my spiritual practice, the way that I do energy work, the way that I work on myself, and the way that I then share that, right? I use that modality to help my clients to transform their own lives, their bank accounts, their bodies, their all of it, the health, the wealth, the whole enchilada, right? Like the entire thing. Um, that's why I'm here. And because I am so singular and unusual and goofy and like very, very much myself, I really I make it so that other people, right? If you're listening to this, you know what I mean. I am so much myself that anything that anybody else is doing, no matter how uncomfortable it might make you, like I both am here to be a ham and a showboat and a ridiculous clown. I mean, it's like literally part of who I am. I have, like, again, love entertainment. It's been something that I've really loved for my entire life. And I'm also really private and really shy. So I have these like competing parts of me. So it's not always easy for me to be like really, you know, who I am, but that's again, part of what makes me so strong and so able to help you anchor into your complete uniqueness, which always involves your psychic gifts. That is the one. If you leave this live with nothing else, I just encourage you so much. Again, the daily practice, reaching out and getting all the help that you possibly can right now, getting support from mentors, doing whatever it is that you're able to really strengthen yourself in the coming months, so that whatever happens next year and the year after and all the time that follows, that you are as strong, as grounded in your own authenticity, your own beauty, your own light, your own magic. And my guides say it all the time. They've been saying it for years. If you have been like listening to me for any length of time, you've heard me say our spiritual gifts are the greatest currency. And other very high level seers and sages and very wise people have said some version of that. I'm sure that many people, you've heard other very wise people say very similar things, and that's because what we're moving into, right, me and those people can see that where we're going as a group is into this completely new way of living with each other. And all of our magic, all of our gifts, all of our capacity to really live in a dynamic sense of stewardship with the earth and with the sky, that is about your energy. It's about the fact that our currency, our spiritual gifts, our intuition, all of the clairs, all of the ways of like processing information, that is your greatest, that's a superpower with where we're headed. It's always been. And that's also why the systems of power from a top-down perspective have tried to really stifle that kind of light. So I love you so much. Thank you for showing up for me, showing up for yourself, showing up for your work, your life, your mission. As I said, whatever I can do to hold space for you. I have 3 spots open right now for one-on-one if you would like to jump into like a 6 to 12 month container, and my group program, which is an absolute treasure. There are some spaces available in that group as well. And so I would love, love, love. I have celestial soul retrievals that are also really groundbreaking and life-changing for people, and a bunch of different ways that you can jump into working with me. So reach out to me if you have any questions, check out my website, and really just let your freak flag fly. That is one of my favorite quotes from a movie. It's from The Family Stone. If you have not seen that movie, I found it to be delightful. I haven't seen it in a few years, but it's very charming, just very like light. But there are some big truths in it. And the idea of letting your freak flag fly is really, really important, because being spiritual, admitting it, owning the fact that you are someone who is spiritual, that you care about your divinity. It's not that cool. I mean, I'm not going to pretend it's like a cool stance to take, right? I was a young punk, and I was the punk who was like, I'm a punk and I also believe in God and I always have. Like, that's not, it wasn't cool. I knew it wasn't cool. I knew it wasn't cool in my social groups. I knew that the people that I was friends with, who were often punks and artists and academics, that was not, people didn't understand it. They knew that that was true about me. You know, they knew that I could like see things about them that they, like, I have always been a very clear channel. I've always been able to see so much about people. And so people knew that that was a thing about me. I never pretended anything other than that. But I know that it's a lot to like admit that you use your divinity in a way that is conscious, and that you are just shamelessly grounded in that power. So just like sit with that and admit the fact that, you know, no matter what the system is, our global systems make it so that they don't want us to own our divinity. How can things be different for you if you do? If you really lean into your psychic gifts? Magic is not just real, but it's beautiful. And there's nothing sacrilegious. I mean, it may be sacrilegious in the sense that like world religions are not into you claiming that power. But people around the world for tens of thousands of years used to work with and for their magic, used to understand that, used to love nature and use conscious ceremony individually and collectively to rise the frequency for themselves and for their communities. And that's my call to action for you. So also I have to jump off because I have a wild, busy back-to-back day, but I love you so much. And let us know in the comments what it is that you're working on, what you're going to shamelessly share with people that you've maybe been afraid to share. I want to know. And so does everybody else, because the more we can just like sit in our uniqueness and let that freak flag fly, the more money you're going to make, the more people you're going to impact, and the more we can change things into what, again, people of good hearts and minds have always known, which is that this world is an absolute treasure. And it doesn't have to be as hard as we've made it on this planet. But it requires us to really go deep. So I love you so much. Till next time, I'm going to be going live on Thursday and Friday. And if you're not already on my email list, then go ahead and also I'll make sure that that is available to you. But I'm going to be going live on IG on Thursday and Friday of this week. So goodbye. See you soon in all the ways.